Hey guys, it's Rob Anderson with DollarMoves. I'd like to welcome you to another live show. So in today's live show, I have a special guest. It's Robyn Johnson, who is from Best from the Nest. She also has the Q4 boot camp. She's an expert in Q4. Super fun lady to be around. And we're going to be, see, this is what happens when you have live. That's me talking in the background. Perfect. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. So anyway, she's super fun to be around. And I have her here tonight to help you guys out with anything Q4 related that we can think of. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. It's so cool. Now, with these live shows, we never know. We got to make sure that everybody can hear everything okay, that the picture is coming through. So if I could get some people to let me know if you're seeing this and hearing this, that would be spectacular. Let's see. Also, if you could let your guys' friends know, we're going to be giving you a lot of actionable content. We're getting in here early, right before Q4 starts. So go ahead and share this on Facebook and around with anyone you think is getting ready to rocket Q4 and would like a little extra help. Also, if you guys think that this show is awesome and that me and Robyn are awesome, we'd love it if you could give us a thumbs up down below. And yeah, that's always appreciated. So again, welcome to the show, Robyn, and we're super happy to have you.
I'm like super excited because Q4 is like, it's like a chance to grow your business like super fast. But if you're really intentional, you can actually carry that growth and use those same strategies all the way into Q1, 2, and 3. So you can use this as kind of like a learning lab where
Right.
you can figure out the strategies, but since there's so many more buyers, things just move a lot faster. And so it makes it such a fun playground to play in.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I make these videos, I tell people about Q4, and it's just like, unless you've been in it, like you just don't get it. I mean, you just can't understand the rush that is Q4 and then the crash that is afterwards, right? Like you go, what just happened here? But
yeah, it's time to call a chiropractor in January because you're like, the whiplash, the whiplash.
Amen. It's like, what just happened? Where did that 3 months go? But it is such a fun time. So, when it comes to Q4, I know you get a lot of people talking with you, a lot of new folks talking with you about Q4 and just selling on Amazon in general. But, what would you tell someone who's about to go into Q4? Maybe they haven't done a Q4 before. What would you tell them to kind of explain it and to give them ideas of what to expect with Q4?
So, I think the first thing that everybody wants to know is like, what's a reasonable goal for Q4? What can I really do in Q4? Because, it's kind of like these like Greek mythology things, like people tell these war stories of Q4 gone by. And, like, you're like, does that really happen? And will it really happen again this year? And so what I would say is, unless you are going to have a huge cash influx in your business where you're taking a big pot of money that you didn't have before, was it in your normal sourcing rotation? Or you're adding a lot of help. So if the problem was you didn't have enough funds and you added funds, or if the problem was you weren't able to process anymore and you added help, holiday help, then you can go beyond this. But in general, I would recommend that your goal should be somewhere between 2 to 5 times your normal sales gross volume for the last couple months, for like maybe July, August, September, October. And we talk about Q4 like it happens like magically on October 1st, like you're going to see like the sales jump.
Right.
And so all the newbies are always like on October 3rd, they're like, is it not happening this year? What happened? Why is it, and depending on what your product, if you have some Halloween stuff, you might see stuff like that. But most of us probably, early November.
Right.
Is when you're really going to start to see that sales lift. But really, so when you're looking at your sales goal, so if you're like, okay, I'm going to keep the numbers small because it's easier for people who are at a higher level to kind of multiply it out. Because so if you haven't gotten to 5,000, the idea of getting like 100,000 seems like,
right.
So let's say you are been doing $2,000 a month in gross sales right now, and you're like, okay, I think I can do 4 times more. So I want to go for $8,000 in gross sales. So if you like are 10 times that, so you could do 80,000. So in order to sell $8,000 in December, that means you want to have at least $8,000 to $10,000, maybe even closer to 12, at Amazon's warehouses ready to go before Black Friday. So what I would do is say, how do I figure out, what's my goal, and how do I get that much in there before Black Friday? So if I need $12,000 in, the Friday before, the couple days before Black Friday, and right now, that I need 12 then, and right now I have $4,000 right now. How many weeks do I have? And divide that out by the weeks. And I'm going to give you some worksheets at the end to help you with this. And then you're going to say, okay, so I need to increase the amount of inventory that I have at Amazon by at least like $400 every week, or by $4,000 each week. And so you're going to have that increase, and then you're going to replace what you already sold. So, so I need to increase by $4,000, and I had $1,000 in gross sales, so I need to send $5,000 retail value into Amazon so that I can increase my inventory amount so that I have enough to make the sales. Because the one thing that really happens to a lot of people in Q4 is by the time you realize, oh my goodness, it is happening, like it's over. Because you only have, because now it takes so long for things to get in. The last day for Super Saver shipping for December probably will be between the 14th and the 15th. It was the 16th last year. And so you want to make sure you have the bulk of your inventory in before that. So, and once that hits, you're going to want to start thinking about pulling back on things that don't sell well after Christmas. So maybe pulling back on things like Christmas trees, but like cooking utensils that sell all the way through because people have new healthy diets, those can be great things. And I think that the biggest myth is that you have to sell toys in Q4. Because now toys is crazy. It's like La La Land crazy, but
if you get the right ones.
If you get the right one. Because if you get the wrong one. So I don't know if you experience this, but every year in January, February, March, I hear sellers tell me, man, I got burned on toys in Q4. I had some winners, but I had a lot of losers, and I've got a lot of inventory that stuck. Toys is a very competitive category. And when you add a lot of, and I've noticed that a lot of people, if they have great kitchen sales or if they have great grocery sales, they'll leave those great replens. They'll just leave them like on the side of the road to go chase after these toys.
Just drop everything for toys.
Yeah.
Right.
And people buy shoes for gifts. I mean, no, I can't, most of my Christmas presents for me, like the people are going to buy me are not going to be toys, right? So it's going to be lots of other things. And you froze up for a little second, so can you still hear me? I think it froze up. I hope my internet didn't freeze up. Hold on. The joys of life. You're still frozen for me. So I'll just keep talking. I put a little thing on Facebook. If you can message me back if you can still hear me, because I just have one thing of you going kind of frozen. But so the thing with the toys is that, you don't have to, stick with what's already working. Stick with what's doubling down for you. So if you're doing well in shoes or you're doing really well in grocery, continue to do those and do those harder. You can add some toys. Oh, there you are. Yay, you're back.
I'm back. Yes. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
It looks like you took care of everything though, so that's good.
I just kept talking. I was like,
good job. Yeah, no, everything stopped on my side. So that's why if my face was stuck there.
It was actually a good one. You were kind of pensive. It was good.
Oh, good. All right. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So if you've been doing really well in grocery, then you should keep doing what you've already been doing. And then if you want to add some toys, then I would start now. And, so when you go into the toy store, talk to the retail, the whoever's checking you out, and be like, man, Christmas, people shop early on early. What was that thing that they're already running out of stock on? And sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, that thing, man, they keep calling for it. And, so as you're walking by aisles, if you're looking at Target or you're looking at Toys R Us, look for the empty spots now. Because if they're having trouble keeping it in stock now, it's going to be really hard to find in December. So
that's a huge tip. You guys write that one down. That is huge. I always ask too, what's the super popular thing that everyone's buying right now? If I was to go out and buy a toy for my niece or nephew, what's something that all the kids are wanting,
And you know, like talk to the kids that are next to you. So like about a year ago, like Rochelle and I were in line for this toy because we're nerds. But
Mhm.
but we were like, there was a special limited release toy, and we were talking to this little 8-year-old because like the other adults were getting close, so we were kind of like trying to elbow around her to make sure she got her toy because
Oh,
she
good.
was the only 8-year-old, right? And the rest of
Right.
us are like, you know, like grown-ups.
Just
So we
pick
were
her up and put her over there.
I know. It was like, all right, back up, y'all, back up. But you know, so we were talking, and I was talking to her. I was like, so what do you want to be for Halloween? And this is not a bolo because you know they already released the second season. I don't think there's still the demand that it used to be. But she's like, I want to be Evie, and I was like, who? And she's like, you know, from Disney. And I was like, I know all things Disney, and I don't know Evie. And I was like, tell me about Evie. And she's like, oh, it's from the Descendants thing in that movie. It was really cool. You probably heard. I don't know if Trinity watched it.
I'm
But
not sure.
like so she was like telling me like which characters were cool and which characters were stupid, and I was like, I like worked with Rochelle, and she's like looking it up now.
Yes.
And
Yo, I
so
love you. You just did my research for me. You're the best.
I know I was like, I'm gonna make sure you get all of the things that you need,
Right.
little one. And and so like you know, so what we did is so we started looking up because we found out that you know Disney Store obviously had some Descendant stuff, but
Mhm.
then we got online and we started looking for Descendants costumes and Descendants toys, and we found every store that had part of that franchise, and we started ordering them online. We started a track of stores, and we were buying things out at every store that had anything Descendants
That's
because
so cool.
yeah, so I mean, like when you find a franchise or you find a character that does really, really well, then you can kind of so like if you like I'm not like so like I think sometimes lists can be a little overrated in our community, but
Mhm.
if you want to use them as like, so what is it that made this one sell for a higher price? Is
Right.
it because, you know, like there's certain characters in like in different franchises. So like in Lilo and Stitch, like there's lots of Stitch stuff and there's some Lilo stuff. But the doll that she has actually has a character falling.
Oh, really?
Yeah, her doll is named Scrump.
Huh.
And yeah, so you know, and like so or things that say like so if somebody's a Stitch fan, having a cup that says experiment 626 is really really cool, right?
Right.
Because that Stitch was experiment 626. So like if you can start to be like, wow, okay, so I noticed that when I'm looking at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that you know that Rachel sells for a lot more because she's short packed. So if you're new to toys, usually when you get like if so in like an assortment of toys, like there'll be a pack and there'll be like 8 of these and 4 of these, and then there might be 1 of these in each pack.
Right.
So if you can find which one of the short packed, and then you just go from store to store to store grabbing just this variation. And that's why it's so important that when you're scanning, especially toys, every color, every flavor, every character, you have to scan them all. I mean, you
Right.
got to be like hunting Pokemon. You know, you got to get them all.
Yeah, and there's really not a rhyme or reason to that of what one's great because sometimes it'll be the one that looks totally the dumpiest or whatever, and you're like the little scientist guy on something. I don't remember. I've found so many toys like that where you just have to go through and scan, but then you find that one and you're like, and once you know every single store you go to, that's one you're going for because you buy for 5 and sell for 40 or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna find every one of those.
Well, and yeah, I think that, you know, people get caught up in like that Frozen effect. They think like, oh, well, Frozen was the thing. So like, I need to buy like whatever Disney movie's out, or I need to go buy whatever Marvel movie's out. The reason Frozen sold for such a high value, okay, I'm a total Disney nerd, right? But like because like they had not had a princess movie perform like that since like way long ago. I mean, Tangled was the closest thing that they had had, and
Uh-huh.
she didn't even touch what Frozen did. So it had been like over a decade. They like it was unpredictable that people were gonna be like so not letting it go, but Frozen.
Right.
Because you know so you know that's why when Star Wars came out everybody was like Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars, and we were trying to tell people it's not going to be the same because everybody's expecting it to do well. It's the
Right.
movies that are like the breakout hit when everybody's like, who thought that was going to be like a thing?
Right.
That's where the price jumps happen, not the predictable ones.
Because they weren't prepared for the huge amount of
Hmm.
demand, and so then you got to get out there and grab as much you can and feed that demand.
because they couldn't have it made fast enough, and they couldn't get it shipped over. And then once it hit a certain point, then you hit the Chinese New Year holidays, and so it made it even further. So it wasn't until like March, or it wasn't until like I think April or May that they started to have them in stock.
Right. Well, very cool. You know, another thing, when you were talking about seeing the little kid there that gave you the tip, that's another thing for any of you that have children around. Use them, whatever they're watching, whatever they're getting into. Listen, because they're whatever they want, more than likely a lot of other kids are going to want. And also commercials, when those little kids are watching TV, can really teach you what is out there, what's going to be available, and what could be the next great thing. So.
And, you know, like there's lots of things that are outside of the toys area. So like if you have somebody that crafts, then ask them, what are the things that are hard to find? Yes. What are the things what's the new hot thing? If you have a friend that's really into, you know, like Pinterest stuff, you know, then maybe they'll tell you like a new kind of fabric, or, you know, a new kind of bedazzle. Maybe there's a new bedazzler that's out. I don't know. Right. But, you know, you know, remember, in addition to the holiday season being about gifts, it also is having your mother-in-law over for the first time. And I don't know, like about you, but like the first time my mother-in-law came over, I was like, we actually replaced our flooring for like the first Thanksgiving. Yeah, because you know, and she like lived like 20 miles away. You know, like you buy new tablecloths, and you buy new Christmas, you know, like you buy a lot of different things. And then there's certain foods that, you know, if you grew up in the LA area or in Phoenix, and especially if you're of Hispanic heritage, like it's hard to imagine Christmas without tamales. I mean, like if you're from North Dakota, it's hard to imagine Christmas without lefse. So, you know, but if you're in like California, trying to find a lefse, the little plate to make the lefse, is like impossible. But if you're in I'm guessing if you're in Fargo, the ingredients for tamales probably just are not on the grocery store. So, and there's a million ethnicities. Every region has their thing that they're famous for. I was just seeing like Wisconsin had like a butter burger where they put like this much butter on the burger. I was like, that looks gross, but delicious.
Yeah, it could be good.
Yeah, but look, I look more gross than delicious. Yeah. But everybody has their, you know, there's certain things, there's certain creature comforts, and there's some foods that are only available regionally. So there's some chips that are only distributed on the East Coast. So look for things that give you a regional advantage. So like if In-N-Out Burger sold toys, then In-N-Out Burger would be a great place to source, because people have that cult-like following, right?
For sure, yeah.
You know, but and like when people move away, they miss it. They want, like when people come, like that move away from California and then they come back, like they get to the airport and they're like, In-N-Out, we must go to In-N-Out.
Yeah. We were just there like last week and we had to In-N-Out, and it's not really that they're that great, but it's just that thing, you got to do it.
Yeah, it's like how you know you're home. Right. If you're from SoCal, it's like that's because you have In-N-Out. So you know, so there's lots of things like that. There's lots of stores that are only in one region or another. There's spices that are only. So look for something that, you know, you're looking for something where the supply is outpacing the demand.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be like Pie Face, which was, for those of you who are your first quarter, that was like the big hot toy last year. I actually recommend staying away from those, because I'm thinking this year, anything that's that hot is going to get restricted.
Right.
And you're going to need wholesale orders. So I think that it's a little bit more dangerous, and we have seen a lot more restrictions in toys and shoes really than any other category. So, I mean, there's always like that prestige beauty, which is an issue as well. But I think to stay safe, you know, I think that if you can try to find something that not everybody else is doing, you're gonna make so much more profit, and you're gonna have less volatility in the price.
Right, and sometimes you can find new niches for yourself, for your own throughout the year, because if you're looking at those things that aren't gift specific, you know, then sometimes that'll end up being like year round stuff. I found that with some of my own stuff. Now I know we're talking, you know, maybe not going too heavy into the toys, kind of finding things that are more niche, that maybe be kind of, that has to do with a certain thing that is the hot thing, but that's like it, or that has something to do with it, and finding stuff like that. Now, would you say that that type of stuff is part of the game plan. What would you say, because I know we talked about doing the game plan, is that really the game plan for you, or is there more for that in creating a game plan?
So yeah, so you want to make sure that you create, so from that, like how much I need to buy. I recommend that you set a shipping goal, because if it's not getting shipped out, you shouldn't be buying anymore, because you lose money every day that that item is not available to be bought. So, especially if capital is a problem for you, where you feel like you don't have enough capital, making sure you get things shipped very quickly, get them in, make sure you're doing that box level content so things can get sold faster, so you can get the cash back out of your business, so you can start reinvesting it. It's going to be really important. So you're going to make sure you have shipping goals, like how much retail value am I going to ship? How much am I going to spend? And we want to have inventory rules. So have you ever played like Chutes and Ladders with a 3-year-old?
Sure.
And you know how they're like, oh, no, that ladder means I get to go up 2 ladders. And you're like,
right.
since when does that mean? And they're like, well, when I'm losing, then that slide means you go down 2 slides.
Right.
That's why I hate Chutes. I hate Chutes and Ladders. I hate that game. I'm so glad my kids are past that point. But like, sometimes there's still that like 3-year-old in us, and so we'll want to win the game, and so we'll be like, well, I'm tired. And so I want to hit my buying goal, and so you'll relax your metrics. You'll say, well, I'm going to take a lower ROI, or I'm going to buy too many of them because I just want to be done today because I'm tired. So like if you look at like Steve Jobs and Zuckerman, like they always, have you noticed they wear the same thing like all the time? So they say it's because they want to free up that time in their brain. They don't want, there's one less decision they have to make. So if you can have rules for how you buy your inventory when you're tired, when your kids are nagging at you to go, or your husband's tapping his foot, or you can say, okay, like, does this meet my criteria? Yes or no. And it kind of takes, it takes a lot of that. Like, I don't know about you, but after I do like RA for like over like 6 hours, my brain starts to get kind of mashed potatoes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're like, is this right? I think this is right. Like sometimes I look at Rochelle, I'm like, I'm not crazy, right? This is good? Yes? Yes. Okay. I just wanted to, no, that's not right. And so if you can have those rules, it's going to help you. So you have your buying rules. So you're going to say, I'm not going to spend, so like some examples of good rules are, I don't buy below this ROI. I don't buy more than this many days worth of stock at a time. Or maybe I don't buy more than, I don't have more than 50% of my items being one category. Or I don't have more than 30% of my items being one brand. Because, with this brand restriction, the people that were the most shook to their core were people that had very high percentages in one brand or one category. So if you can diversify across categories, when they make changes, like they just announced another change with the long-term storage fee, if you have multiple categories, if you have multiple strategies that you're playing, it allows you to kind of diversify your risk within Amazon. So, we have a rule that we don't create, we don't buy things for new listings unless we have like slots that are open. Like how many slots can make Nate for those new listings? Because you're like, I can make a listing for that, and then you come home and you go to list. You're like, why did I buy things that I need 6,000 listings for? And then you don't want to do it, and it sits on that shelf for like 3 weeks.
Right. Oh, I know the shelf. I know. I got that shelf.
Yeah, I think every seller has that shelf. You're like let's just pretend that doesn't.
That one doesn't need to be.
Yeah. So if you can, so we set up rules like that. So set up your rules, and you can still buy things outside your rules. They just don't count towards your game.
Right.
So
now would be the best time really to start to figure out those rules, wouldn't you say? Like to start figuring out for your own business, like this, like you said, the ROI and how long, like all the things you just said. I hope that you guys are taking notes with this, by the way. I mean, this is huge. If you like what you're hearing from Robyn, please do give a thumbs up down below. Super awesome. So right now then would be the time to just start figuring out your action plan for your own business and what compared to what you want to get by the end of the Q4.
Yeah, so it allows you to kind of say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and then once you have an action plan, because when you feel like, because if you're like you have like $8,000 in your thing, you're like, all right, I want to get to $100,000. Okay, it sounds like like pie in the sky. Like I think you've heard me say like Pocahontas. It's like just around the river bend, I'm gonna be rich. like it just, and it's hard to get excited, like when you're tired, especially if you're trying to do this after you come home from work, when you're tired already, or maybe you've been sourcing already, like it's really hard to get to that one more store.
Yeah.
But if like, okay, I'm only this, I'm this close to hitting this week's goal, it's easier to kind of be like, all right, I'm just going to buck up. I'm going to do one more store. Than it is like, I hope that one day I'll make it. It's harder to get motivated for that.
Well, yeah, you have a destination rather than just, we'll see where I get to. Like, you've got that point on the map that you want to get to. And so you go, okay, got to keep going, just got to keep going, got to get to my goal. So that's huge. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Now, Enzo the Picker here asks, can you make a comparison between RA and OA with these tips? Do you have any kind of input on that?
So comparison with RA and OA on this tip. So for this time, I can't see the chat this time. So
okay, yeah. If you open up the actual thing, that's what it says on that. And we were talking about the kids finding products and stuff, like finding the good products for toys.
Yeah. So when it comes down to like RA versus OA, you're going to be doing some of the same things. What I recommend doing for OA is to try to find stores that are off the OA X-ray tactical arbitrage path. Now that is harder. It makes it more difficult. But if you can find a niche if you can find things that are, so you can do it one of two ways. You can try to find a store that's going to sell really niche down items. And it doesn't have to be like Joe's e-commerce store. It can be like a big brand name, but maybe they sell more things that are maybe a little less common. So, something that would be more like an IKEA rather than, trying to shop at Toys R Us. I would stay away from Toys R Us and Walmart because those sites are picked over so badly.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing you can do is if you find something that is doing well. So let's say you find a character in a franchise that's doing well, or you find out that, hey, left-handed hockey gloves are doing really well for me. I should find other left-handed sports equipment, or I should find other hockey, like what's some other hockey equipment? So I'm going to search on Amazon for hockey equipment and then search over a certain price and try to find things where you can see the prices significantly over. And you can kind of do like kind of a reverse engineer that way. But so if you hear people saying, man, I've been looking, my friend wants this and I can't find it, that's always like I don't care what cocktail party you're at, you put the drink down, you go talk to them, find out what it is, say, now tell me, where would I find, how would I get that? Tell me more about that product, And then a great thing for online arbitrage is also if you can find things that have maybe the like refills or expansion packs. Sometimes they don't carry the full variety in stores because there's a limited amount of shelf space where you don't have that online. And the same thing for grocery and for a lot of other categories, a store only has so many spots on a shelf. Mm-hmm. So they might only be able to carry vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, but there might be a pineapple upside down cake that sells really well because it's hard to find and people love it and it's hard to get. Like there was a gluten-free funfetti cake mix for a while, and there's not a lot of gluten-free funfetti mixes out there. So you might find something that is a little bit off of center, and then look for things that are similar to that. So if you find that you do really well in CrossFit stuff, or you do really well in Marvel stuff, then maybe some of the sub characters. So I say like embrace your inner weird, and if you don't have enough weird, borrow some from a friend. So there you go. So I would say when it comes down to online arbitrage, the weirder you can get, the better. And I would say that there's a line, but there's a whole category out there for the really crazy stuff. So.
Yeah, and
I don't fall in that category, but
yeah. Yeah, there is some there. I mean, I love that. That's that weird obscure stuff, not the category you're talking about, but that weird that weird obscure stuff I love the most, because it's that stuff where everyone else is out looking at toys or whatever, all the lists, all the groups are looking at, and you're over here just cherry picking this stuff that nobody even knows to look at. So yeah, that was huge. And Enzo says thanks for the tips. So that's awesome.
And don't get caught up in sales rank. I think that's the biggest thing
Hmm.
with these niche items. People get caught up, like, like play with sales rank in different categories over the next 2 weeks. Because 10% in toys and games, especially in Q4, is a whole different world than 10% in lawn and garden.
Right.
So, so the whole stay in the top, most of our stuff is in the 5 to 10% range for
Mhm.
the sales rank. We don't I actually don't like buying things under 5% in the category. I feel like there's too much competition. They get outed
Sure.
too easily. It's just, it's not what we specialize in.
Right. That's interesting. I'm kind of the same way, but I hadn't thought of that's probably the reason why I do it too, because it's like if it's that small, then I get put in the sea of people, a sea of sellers.
Yeah, because it's like we try to trim like the newest, greenest sellers and the biggest chunk of sellers, and we give them the smallest piece of the pie. And we're like,
Right.
I don't know why everybody's fighting over the same piece of pie. There's like a
Right.
whole other
Exactly.
pie, right? There's this whole other thing right here. And so play with that. So you just are not going to buy. Instead of buying 5,000 of one item, you might buy 10 of 50 items. And I know the math doesn't work there, but you guys get the idea. You're
Mhm.
going to buy wide and shallow, and then that diversifies your risk too. If a brand or an item gets restricted, or if, maybe it gets, maybe there's a huge national sale and that price that you thought for sure was going to go up goes down, because not all
Right.
prices go up in Q4.
Right. And sometimes Amazon will come in too, like they do, and
Mm-hmm.
tank everything. So, yeah.
And know that the big things that they're most interested in Q4 are those. So like, especially for those of you who are like switching gears to wholesale. So when we look at an item, or for private label too, we so there's a benchmark where Amazon's really interested in a product, because after a certain benchmark, they're like, there's enough sales here that this is really important. We need to be the low price leader in this product, or we need to create our own private label because it's generating that many sales. If you can stay under that benchmark and maybe have a wider variety of products, whether it be wholesale, private label, retail arbitrage, or online arbitrage, you're going to have fewer people that are coming to come in for competition, and you're going to have less likely that Amazon's going to come in on that item. So, a lot of the problems that we see a lot of people facing in other Facebook groups, we don't really face because of the product mix that we have.
Yeah, that's huge. Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. I really hope that people are taking notes here. And if you aren't, you can always go back and watch the replay, but that's killer. You guys also, please don't be shy. Ask questions if you have any questions. We have some other things we're going to be getting to here, but I do want you to ask questions because there will be question and answers at the end, as long as we've got some time. So again, Robyn, thank you so much for your time. Now, on here, we were talking about hiring help, and I'd like to know, let's talk about, because that's sort of a topic that can be for the new person and for someone that's been
Mm-hmm.
there for a while. How do you know if it's time to hire help, and how much help? Like what do you have to say about the hiring help in Q4?
So the most important thing about hiring is never hire somebody you cannot fire.
Right.
Because I've hired really close friends of family and things like that, or friends of friends, and if you can't fire them and still have Thanksgiving dinner taste okay, it's not worth it. So,
Right.
so don't hire people you can't fire, and always plan for the divorce before the marriage.
Mhm.
So, while you might think it's fine to hire somebody as an independent contractor, even though really technically they're an employee, because they would never say anything, they might not say anything until they get hurt, and then they have a workers' comp case that they need to, because they need the medical care, and
Mhm.
then that workers' comp thing, and you don't have insurance for that workers' comp, and then if they file unemployment because after that they couldn't find something else, and they list you as an employment and not a contractor because you didn't make it really clear, that could generate an audit where you could actually have to pay employment taxes.
Right.
So plan for the divorce before the wedding. Now, when it comes to hiring, you can hire independent contractors. You can,
Yeah, can you speak to that? What the
yeah.
difference is? Because what you just said probably would scare me from getting people to help. Like, oh my God, workers' comp and all this stuff. What is she talking about? So could you explain the difference there for people?
Yeah, so an independent contractor is somebody who generally they're going to have more than one client usually. So especially if like a couple people who sell is somebody who takes stickers off for you, if you can find somebody who takes stickers off for both of you, then that's great. Because if they have multiple clients, it really helps to prove that
Mm.
they really are an independent contractor. The most important things are that you cannot set their hours. They set their hours. They decide the order that they're working in, and they provide their own equipment. So those are the big things that you want to. Now, I am not a tax consultant. I do not play one on TV or YouTube. So, make sure you can hire an HR specialist or talk to your CPA or accountant. They're going to know. How hiring sounds like putting somebody on payroll sounds really intense and crazy. It's not. All
Mm.
you're going to do is you're going to call whoever got your business insurance, or you're going to ask your accountant for somebody who can get you a workers' comp quote. You pay like a very small percent per hour, right? And then the service that we like for payroll is Gusto, 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 and they handle all of the federal tax and state and tax returns for you, and they handle making sure you have all the form. They have people on board on their phones for you, so it's a great service. So you can have that done. You can have your bookkeeper, your accountant handle all of that for you, and technically you could hire somebody under the table. The disadvantages are that if you have to think about if something happened,
Mhm.
would your homeowner's insurance cover it, right? And then the other thing you need to think about is, I just had it in my head. Oh, and you can't deduct the expenses. So if you pay somebody under the table, the bad thing is it's under the table.
Oh,
So
right.
so you don't get to take that as a business expense. But don't let the overwhelmingness stop you. There's a way to figure it out. There's great online communities out here. It sounds way scarier than it is. But so when you're hiring somebody, I always hire. So I think that the best place to hire, unless you have a prep service, is to hire somebody to take stickers off and
Mhm.
to put stickers on, and to once you can kind of help you pack the boxes, because that's the most physically demanding part. Now,
Mhm.
I think there's this myth that you have to teach them your whole business. When somebody comes on with us, we don't really we teach we like the first week. It's like, take the stickers off. Here's how
Right.
you take the stickers off, and that's all that they do. And then the next week it's like, now you can take the stickers off and you can put the stickers on, and now you can take the stickers off and you can put them in a poly bag and put them in the stickers on.
Mhm.
So
Right.
one step at a time. And just having somebody go with you. I was actually just talking to a client that does a lot of high volume, and he was talking about how he has to go from store to store, and it's quite, it ends up being like a 10-hour circuit that he runs, right?
Uh-huh.
And so, even just having somebody who would do the driving for him, so he could do research between store to store, or he could sleep between store and store. So when I first hired Rochelle, who's my operations manager now, she literally just came with me, and so she would drive, and so I could either rest, or I could do kind of stuff on my iPad while we were traveling between stores, and we would get
Mhm.
into the store, and I'd be like, 15 of those, 5 of those, 6 of those, 10 of those. And so she would go get those things, put them in the cart, and she would start checking out. And then as they were getting close, she would text me. I would go up there and pay, and she would check out. And so then she would take the cart and start unloading it. And then I could go, and while she was doing all that, I could do any kind of peripheral scanning, and just having somebody to help you get everything in the cart, and to because I've been there where there was one time I was at Target, and I had 7 carts that were
Mhm.
all lined up, and I was by myself, and I was like, how do I get these to the register?
Yeah. Then
Like,
how do I get them to fit in my vehicle, hopefully,
yeah.
right?
And so we should talk about the vehicles and temporary space too.
Okay, yeah.
Um, but so just having somebody to come, even if they're just coming with you and they're not making any buying decisions, then even just something to help you load and unload, and take pictures of so you can take pictures of the receipt so you don't get behind. All of those things can be really helpful.
Oh, it's huge. And I mean, because I was thinking about it as you were talking about that, and it's like, I was thinking, wow, that really doubles you up. But I think it probably does more than that. I bet it would be better than, just 2 of you, because you're able to totally concentrate on one thing while the other stuff that, is just sort of the mundane, like non-thinking type of stuff is happening, you can really like work, on your business and figure out the next steps and stuff like that. So yeah, that's huge.
Well, and plus, like, honestly, just having the company can
Yeah,
help quite a bit,
helps too. Yeah.
because it's easier to get excited when you're like, and like sometimes you, especially when you get tired, it's really nice to have somebody to be like, I'm not crazy, right? Like I should buy all of these, right?
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah,
I've had that happen quite a few times where by myself I might have limited, and then I've talked to people and it's like, oh yeah, no, you should do like especially like with my brother when we go sourcing or whatever. And yeah, that's a huge thing because you will kind of start second guessing, and then you go when you get home with the stuff or wherever you're gonna prep it, you're like, why was I even thinking that? These are home runs all day long. I'd have been so mad if I'd have left that at the store.
and and so like and so like Rochelle, like because like Rochelle is like the dark and twisty to my bright and shiny, and so Rochelle had like a whole different set of eyes. So she's like, why didn't you scan that? I was like, oh, I don't. It's not an aisle I usually specialize in. And she'd be like, oh, but I know those are hard to find. I know those are hard to find. And so like even
Yeah.
when Nate and I go sourcing, like I would be interesting because I'd come back with like a thing of Barbie cart, like a thing of Barbies and puzzles, and he'd come back with tractors, and I'm like, you know,
Like I walked right by the same stuff. It's so crazy, but yeah, it's that to me is what's so amazing and why I think that competition is less than we think because I'm going to look at something you're going to pass up. You're going to look at something I'm going to pass up, and we can be in the same aisle. You know what I mean?
yeah, and and so like we pretty much scan everything too. So it's not like we were spot scanning. It was just like I missed like sometimes as you go up and down, you get distracted. I'm like, that's literally the one thing in the aisle I didn't scan. You got to be kidding me. So it's like, and so like there's that, and so I think all of those things really bring kind of a richness, and don't have to limit yourself to groups that other people put you in. Like if you've been like talking with somebody on Facebook, or you find a couple people that that you find that you're interacting with in groups, like put yourself out there. Be like, hey, can we form a WhatsApp group? Can I text you? Can we have a private message thread
Yeah, for
where you can bounce
sure.
ideas? I mean, like I was just getting ready to do like having friends you can bounce things off to, and it's really important to have really honest friends.
Mhm.
Like so today, like I like because I'm speaking at Retail Global like in just 2 days, and so I wanted to have my friend look at my presentation, and I sent it to her because I know she would. There have been times where she's like, no, that's horrible. No,
Yeah, that's what you
mm-mm.
want.
Yeah. So find people that will be honest, and find people that are going to be in alignment with you, and especially if they're in different geographical areas and you're doing RA, then it can really benefit you. So I mean, you kind of have that middle school risk where you might be like, can I be friends? And they might go, no, I
Yeah,
already have
right.
enough friends. But it's not like they're going like if they were going to say that, they probably weren't as cool as you thought they were anyway.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
they
That's
might,
funny.
they might not have time, but you just keep asking, make the request. And then, when it comes to vehicles, like, there was one time when we were, this is, okay, so this is the fall reset time. So a lot of stores are getting rid of their Christmas or their summer stuff so they can reset for the winter, so there's going to be tons of clearance out there all over the place.
Hmm.
So it can be a great time to stock up. Just be really careful at national chains where they're going to be clearancing out the same thing everywhere. You just
Right.
don't buy so deep into one thing that if that price tanked, that you wouldn't have money to keep sourcing. So just kind of with that percentage rule, right? But like so, there was one that was out here, and we for a long for it was in the beginning stages, and so I was sourcing in my CRV.
Uh-huh.
I can put quite a bit of stuff in a CRV. Um, but like
When it's necessary, you can get a ton of stuff in anything.
so we had it like completely filled up to the top. I had like cardboard boxes, so it was on the back, and then I had these like catchphrase games that were like stacked to the ceiling this way. So I was like trying to drive as I was like holding the games, and they kept falling on me, and I was like, I'm going to crash. I can't do this. So I saw it in the corner of my eye. I saw a U-Haul, and I pulled in, and I literally was like, I need to rent a cargo van. And I just
Yeah.
stopped and rented a cargo van. You can Uber now. You could be like, all right, I hit the mother load, and I'm going to put everything that I can in my car, and everything else I'm going to put in the Uber, and I'm going to have them take me to U-Haul, and I'm just going to load it on the sidewalk, and I'm going to look ridiculous, and an Uber guy is going to have something story to tell, you know.
Nice.
And if you have something that can, a vehicle that can tow, the trailers are the best buy, because the trailers, you don't get charged mileage. So, and as long as it's a return trip, they're super cheap to rent, and they carry a ton. Just if you're going
Do
to
you have
do
any idea what they are, like about, like what it costs for that? Do you remember? Or I know you have your
yeah,
own
it's
now.
only like,
So.
yeah, I do have my own now. I bought my own for like $5,000, I think.
Nice.
So when we did it one way, so like, because for a long time we would head out to one state, and then we would drive back and fill up on the way back.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then that was like $300 for a week. But I think that for a week locally, it's going to be like less than $100.
Oh, wow. That's very cool.
And so, like, when you do that, when you rent the trailer, just make sure you have a couple of like Home Depot boxes or U-Haul boxes. And then as you're putting the bags, put the bags in the boxes, and then you can stack all the way to the top. Because
that's a great idea.
Because the problem we ran into with like the cargo van was like you had to be really careful, because if you stack too much stuff, the Barbies at the bottom would get crushed.
Smashing them. Yeah.
So if you can put them in the boxes, and then what we used to do is, like, before we would go out with a trailer, we'd have the boxes already set up, and we'd have them set up along the aisles. So we made kind of like an aisle in the middle.
Right.
And like we had the boxes already built, so we'd put all of the bags in there, and then when the bag was filled, we'd have more boxes, and we'd put a box on top and open that and set it up. So it was just constantly like, so it was really fast, and it also takes away, like, I don't know if you've ever had the horrified look of the poor little bag boy that helped you out as you open, because we have like that hee-haw truck, right? That enclosed, and he'd be like, because they're like in awe that you have 7 carts, and then you open the back of your truck and it's like
already
a
full.
Toy Story vomited in the back of your truck, and they're like, So it kind of can eliminate some of the scene that you create as well. If you're like me and you have family that sources, you can bring them in the boxes, and then if your family pops by unexpectedly, they don't get to see what you bought.
Oh yeah, that's a good tip for kids too, man. Those kids will be like, my dad buys all the good stuff and I don't get any of it.
Oh, see, my kids have figured it out. They go up to Ling and I go, Bobo, is that a return?
There you go.
But so she gives them all these returns, right? And then half of them are broken, and so they get like 20 toys, but only like 5 of them work. I'm like, why?
That's hilarious. So you were talking about limited space as well. Can you touch on that as well?
Yeah. So like our second or third Q4, like I just was like, can't have this in my living room. Losing my flingin' mind. My kids were small. Everything was everywhere because we just didn't have our systems up. And so we actually subleased, a pest control company had an extra office. And so we subleased their 2 extra offices. And then so we would drop our stuff off and we do our prepping and packing in their office. So it kind of allowed us to still have our home for Christmas.
Very good.
If you're at home, because we had it in our house for a long time, those rolling shelves that you can get from Costco, the Metro shelves.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we do is we'd separate everything out, and then we have a rule that, like, if a Barbie comes in pink and blue, it can't be on the same shelf. So you don't want to set 2 things that look the same next to each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, but then you can have all the things on the shelves, and then you can push all the shelves into one area when you're done. So you can kind of collapse your preps area, and then you can bring the shelves over to you as you prep. And then for Black Friday, what we did a couple of times is we actually went on Airbnb and we rented a house for Black Friday. And so
really? The whole house.
Yeah, and so we rented a whole house, and I just went to like a party supply store, and I rented I think I rented like 8 like 9-foot tables. And so so we just set them up we set up like different. Each room was like a different thing, and so the whole we moved the furniture, and I told them, I was like, by the way, I'm crazy. I'm using this for my business. I'm not a drug dealer, and it worked out great because we were able to bring in so much stuff. And because it was an Airbnb, because we were there like packing and stuff and my kids were young, like my kids could they could go watch TV, or they could lay down on the bed, and they had some of those creature comforts. There was a kitchen there, so it gave us the ability to kind of have some flexibility, so you could do that. And so I think those are probably the most doable things. And then Postmates, if there's Postmates in your area, man, that'll save your life. So Postmates,
I don't know what that is. Yeah,
it's like DoorDash. So on my app, I can be like, I would like some PF Chang's, but I have like 20 boxes to prep. And so you just order on your phone. It's like Uber for food.
Right.
And so they just bring it to you. It's a magical thing.
Yeah, people don't understand. Like, you forget to eat sometimes, and then you get to that point where you're like, "Why do I feel like I'm going to pass out? Oh, I didn't eat today. I was so busy." Like, it's a crazy time. So those little things help a ton. Same with like if you can have someone clean your house or do the little things that you don't need to be doing at that time.
If you have to send Christmas cards, you should be getting them addressed. And I don't care if it's too early. Get that photo done now. Because you're not going to have time. And so, it's gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? I just can't be a Christmas card person. If I do send them, it's going to be like after, it's going to be, they're going to get New Year cards from us if they get anything, know? So, but then once you miss a couple years on the Christmas cards, you get out of the rotation.
You're all good at that point.
Yeah, because they're like, I'm not sending you, just send me once, I'm not sending you one. So it kind of relieves that sense of obligation.
That is so funny. Man, this is awesome stuff. I can't believe just the flow and everything that you're talking about. People can get so much great info out of this whole thing. This has gone way beyond what I thought you were actually going to share. So I hope you guys are really enjoying this and taking notes, literally, so much good stuff. Make sure and hit the thumbs up. The last thing we were going to talk about today, as far as the things that we had on the list here, is the new storage fees. Now we're at 10 minutes to 7. So just to kind of give you an idea, I know time flies when you're having fun, but we can keep it going past the hour. That's fine. And we have a question, so we're good. Okay. But I just want to kind of talk about the new storage fees as well.
So with the storage fees, so normally anything you have over 30 days, and it's a really foggy day. It's like if you had it over 30 days, there's one day in the month where they look at how many things you've had there over 30 days, and you're charged storage fees, kind of like the long-term storage fee, except it's much less expensive. It's only usually 55 cents per cubic foot. But because Amazon has been so wonderful the last couple months with us. They've announced that for November and December, I think it was triple what it is. So it ends up being $2.25 per cubic foot. So if you have something that's a foot by a foot by a foot, so it's a like a foot, a square foot, right? Then it's going to be $2.25 per month for November and December. Now they've changed some of the weight handling fees to kind of subsidize that. So if you watch your inventory turn, so if you're in my academy and you've watched the reports webinar and you know how to handle your inventory turn, it's not going to be a big deal for you. But especially as you're kind of trying to build that inventory up, you have to be really cognizant now, especially for toys, because toys are packaged to give a bigger perceived value. And so they're packaged in a, that's why they're so much bigger than it needs to be. That's why, Barbie outfits are in a box like this big. It's a Barbie outfit. They could put it in in a sandwich baggie. It's to make it feel like it was more valuable. So you want to really think about the size of your items. And if you're not really clear on what dimensional weight is, I have a great article on my blog on dimensional weight. You should go check it out. I also did a podcast on it as well. Make sure you're really clear on that. So what our strategy is going to be, so let's say I find the deal of the century on red Sharpie pens. And so I know that they're going to sell really well because, I don't know, maybe there's some magical, the ice bucket challenge that's going to happen this year with red Sharpie pens. But I find a great deal, right? And so I know they're going to sell really well, but I don't want to send them all in right now because I don't want to have to pay that storage fee. So what I would do is I would send in maybe 10 or 20. And then I would send those in, and as they get to the warehouse, I'd watch how fast they sell. And so if I sell 10, then I'm going to send 20 and the next 20 in. And when they sell 20, I'm going to send the next 40 in. And so you're going to keep kind of increasing it slowly, right? So you're sending pieces at a time. Now, when you first get them, you're going to prep them Like you're going to send them all in the shipping. So we're going to take care of all the poly bags, all the bundling, all of the de-stickering, all of the FNSKUs, and then any ones that you have left over, you can, if you have an IKEA near you, they have the little drawers that go in those wire baskets, and they're only like a couple bucks. We use those to hold like little small things. But you could even just take a box and you could put all of the red Sharpie pins in a box and then label it and then start stacking them up on the things. And so and then once a week you're going to look at what you sold and you're going to send in more than what sold, because we expect the sales velocity to increase as it gets closer to Christmas, right?
Right.
So that's going to help keep you from ending up having, because if you send all 150 in, maybe you have 150 and you're like, man, I know these are going to sell before November, but you didn't take into account that another guy also got 500 of them. And so,
Right.
and he got like an even better deal. So he's priced it underneath you and now you have to wait. So you could lose out all of your margin. So you could end up losing money on that deal because of the fees if you haven't really been strategic. So this kind of will help you minimize your risk. And this way, even if you have to hold them a little bit past Christmas, you're not going to be paying all of that storage fee, so it's going to increase your profitability. And when you look at those buys, if let's say something really goes sour, you're going to still be able to physically see them, so you're going to be able to have a better idea, was that a good buy or was that not a good buy? Because I think that especially that's the importance of really getting in that inventory health report and looking for inventory that, if you buy things and you expect them to sell within 30 days and you have inventory that's been there 6 months, those are all bad buys. You bought either too deep or the wrong price. And so look at those before you start to make your Q4 buys so you don't make the same mistakes again.
Right. Yeah, that's perfect. And that's so smart. I mean, I've done that too, even before that. When I buy a ton of stuff, I don't always send it all in, even before they raised up all the prices, just because, I want to sell through and then have my other stuff in. And I don't hold on to a lot of stuff, but I mean, that's just a great idea to do that. And then you're also reminded, well, how much stuff, if you're looking at it every once in a while, you see like, okay, maybe I shouldn't buy that much. Or when they start getting low, time to get some more as well.
Well, and so like it kind of uses that, like if you have like your friend that makes fun of you because you like, oh, like they're gonna be like, oh, how'd those red Sharpies go? And you're gonna be like, I'm never gonna buy red Sharpies again. And so it helps kind of like cement things, I think, a little bit better.
Right, absolutely. Well, very good. So we have one question here from Annette. She says, so where should we go shopping? What kind of profit should we be looking for?
So you should go shopping anywhere where there's a cash register.
Yeah, right.
People are like, no, but really, where should I go shopping? And I mean, I literally hospital gift shops. I found some great things there. I was just in one store that was a little different the other day. I can't remember what it was, but we've been in all kinds of stores. We've been like places that you wouldn't think you could be able to find inventory. I think we even found something in a convenience store once. I think that was where Nate found that one item because it was like, no, we have sold things that have been in convenience stores for sure. Yes, for sure. So like any place where there's a cash register. And then, one of the things that we do is, so if you have stores that you go to and you buy things all the time, keep a master list of that store. And, you can actually create like a list of all the things that you normally buy. And you can kind of you can kind of run those numbers before you get to the store. It'll speed things up. Anything you can do to speed things up in Q4.
Right.
So, I would say, I would be cautious at Walmart, Target, Toys R Us, because so many people are there. It's just you're competing against a lot of people. Doesn't mean you can't shop there. Doesn't mean there's not great things, especially in like the regional food area. Could be great, but I would just be careful. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's when she was talking about that was you were talking about don't go to Walmarts and Targets and stuff. And so I think she was kind of going, well, where do I shop then? But I mean, that's a great idea, is just whatever stores, just try and stay away from the big ones. And especially if a ton of people are talking about one thing, that might be the thing to stay away from.
So you can even
got their eyes on it.
Yeah, and like go on Google or go on Yelp and type in like specialty sport lacrosse equipment, or type in toys, or type in bedding, and see what stores come up. And even it might be like, oh, I forgot that there's that one store, that maybe I hadn't even thought about going, right. so like take time out of your day to go to new stores and try to scan new items. And, I think sometimes people get discouraged, like, man, I spent 6 hours and I got no items. That means I got nothing. But if you are watching as you scan and you're starting to notice, you want to be looking for patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're like, okay, that didn't sell, that one's too, okay, so, things in this brand don't seem to do well. It never has the sales rank. Or this brand always is really good rank, but it's not the price. And then you can say, okay, so I need to be looking for sales on that brand. Right?
Right.
So if you can start to find the patterns, even if you don't find the goods this time, you might find something next time. So, I think that, if you can do that and you can kind of find your own path, it's going to be a more sustainable path. And it's harder because you don't get that instant gratification. But I'm from somebody who's done it, and people thought Rochelle thought I was completely crazy. She was like, "We're going to do what?" And I was like, "We're going to make a list of everything the store carries." And she's like, and I was like, "No, that's what we're doing." And, it really worked out for us.
Absolutely. Well, one thing you were talking about was checking out stores, like when you find them online and then going out there and looking at them. I mean, I realize more and more now how many stores I really have around me that I've never even stepped foot inside of. It's like, I know I can sell from everywhere, but there's stores around me, and I've been doing this since 2011 that I've never stepped into. But that's what I try to do. Like when I find, like, if I go out and I just get totally skunked or whatever, I'll just go to a different place, somewhere I never even tried, because it's already sucking for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you usually find something good. That's the amazing part about it. So.
And then, kind of like you can just keep branching out. And so, don't get caught up in whatever. By the time that everybody in the Facebook group is talking about the new hot thing, it's time to leave. So, when everybody was talking about how OA is the coolest thing, we actually kind of pulled back from retail arbitrage for a while because we were doing so well in wholesale. And then everybody got so crazy about online arbitrage. And so we started going back to retail arbitrage because everybody was leaving their retail arbitrage stuff.
Yeah, wow, I hadn't thought of it like that, but yeah.
So go where people aren't, when people think they're too good to do, books, people will be like, oh, well, I'm too good to do books. I am not too good to do books. Books have crack dealer margins.
Ridiculous,
and, especially if you're having a hard time, like getting enough capital, it can really be a great way to build that capital and build that experience in your business.
Absolutely. So I want to take a couple more questions here. I would like to talk about your training and coaching that you have. Obviously, you guys can see that she knows her stuff. So, but I want to take a couple more questions before we talk about that. Now, Vicky says, please talk about merchant fulfilled during Q4.
Okay, merchant fulfilled. If you want a merchant fulfilled, especially toys, I would say even if you're buying things that you're just going to break even on, buy some, plan on shipping them. And you need to ship at least 25 orders now, like in the next week, because otherwise you're not going to be able to merchant fulfill toys. So you need to plan for that now. And my rule for merchant fulfilled is if I don't know how I'm going to get the box and how much the box is going to cost to put it in and to mail it, then I don't buy it. Because the only thing worse, it is horrible when you're like, I don't have a box that will fit this and it's already sold, and now you have to spend $20 on a box at the UPS store, So, so in your area, Google, corrugated cardboard boxes and find a company that has boxes that you can buy, usually in stacks of 25 or 50. Sometimes Kelly Paper has them if you have a Kelly Paper near you. We have a little shipping supply company that's run out of a warehouse in Phoenix that we buy ours from. So there's lots of different options, but make sure you really know how much the box is going to cost, and make sure you have enough experience to understand, because sometimes it's a kind of a gamble with merchant fulfill in the margins. So if you have to send it from California to Maine, the price is going to be a lot different than California to Arizona. Right. So you need to figure out how much is it going to cost you to ship to the farthest place that it could possibly go, and then you want to build your margins in around that. And then if you luck out and get somebody who's close to you, then that's great. But but don't So I think that's where most people get killed is you guys, we are so spoiled. We think shipping is so much less than it is. Shipping is really expensive.
Oh no, it's all figured out. You just send it to Amazon and then.
Oh, and the other thing with those scanning apps, they'll tell you like, 13 ounces, and so sometimes it'll calculate it for first class shipping. But by the time you put the bubble wrap and the packing label and everything in the envelope in there, it's way over that first class, and it's down to priority, which is a huge price chunk. So,
Right.
make sure that when you're looking at those, like if you have a scanning app that calculates that, I think Scoutify does that, and there are a couple others that do it too. Profit Bandit does it.
I think that Scan Power does it as well.
Yeah. So, if it look at the weight, and if the weight is pretty close to 13, I think because now it's 15 ounces, right? They upped it. I don't
I'm
know.
not
It's
sure.
been a while. So if it's for us, if it was over like 9 ounces, we
Mhm.
would start to worry, like, could we really send it first class? And then always under promise, over deliver. Seller Fulfilled Prime is a great thing if you can get into it. It's a great program. They're really, really excited about it, but you best be able to deliver because,
Right.
like Amazon expects that stuff shipped on time every time. And so do not list more than you can think that you can box up. So you need to practice now, even if you're practicing to break even, because you need to know exactly what you're capable of. And then you also need to remember that, Christmas dinner still needs to get cooked. Grandma
Right.
still needs to gonna have her hair done before they're, so you need to really look at your calendar and really make sure that, because this could be the last Christmas you have with somebody, so you don't want to miss that time with people. Time is the one thing you can't get back. So I think
Right.
it's important to hustle your business as much as you can, but life is short, and you can't forget the family. That's the whole reason you're doing this in the first place, and that.
Right. And and that's the thing, it's like the double-edged sword of Q4
Mhm.
is that it's so killer and the adrenaline rush and all this crazy stuff is going and the money's coming in and all this, and it's all good, but then you go, wow, there was Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like,
Mhm.
hey, it's January, you know? So yeah, that's a really good tip.
Like, I
So
have to fight my family to keep Thanksgiving because they keep wanting to cancel it because we're all Amazon sellers now.
oh yeah, well then that's okay.
Yeah.
Then you spend Thanksgiving outsourcing. That's hilarious. So, and then the last question I want to ask here, Roy asks, do you target more expensive items for less competition?
So if you have access to high level capital, expensive items can be really great because not only is it going to be, that the idea of the Amazon takes about a third, it actually gets closer to about 15-20%, with a higher priced item. So higher priced items can be a really great place to go if your business is capitalized to do that. You just want to watch out for things that are really heavily targets for counterfeit. So
Mm-hmm.
like a Michael Kors bag, pretty much all of the things that everybody was freaking out about a couple weeks ago.
Right.
So, like, if you can find something that's expensive, but it's because the item is expensive, not
Right.
like an overpriced, like, a Coach bag it's not even that cute of a bag, but it's worth way more than it's actually, like, the fabric components of it are,
Oh, for
you know?
sure. Yeah.
you know so like so that doesn't mean you can't sell prestige brands, but you need to make sure you are buying them. Do not buy prestige brands from Ross or TJ Maxx or Marshalls. You need to be able to prove that, especially on those high end items, that it
Mhm.
is 100% legit.
Right. And then what about just like like more expensive, like the big crazy toys and stuff like that? I mean, do you do any of that or do you
Yeah.
like, yeah, I do the
Because
same.
I think that they can be, and especially big toys. The thing
Mhm.
with big toys is you have to really make sure that you really understand how much it's costing you to ship it,
Uh-huh.
and how much those oversized storage fees are going to be. And you have to make sure you really understand Amazon's fee structure, because it's easy to lose money, especially on things that are big and light. They're really,
Right.
those can really get you pretty hard. But those high dollar and even bigger items, they can be a great place to go, and a lot of people will shy away from them because they can't figure out how to ship them, or they can't, like, they can buy 60 items versus buying 3 of this one $200 item.
Right. But I mean, I did the same thing a lot more last year actually, because I was like, nobody's going to be on this stuff, and did killer on them. So
Yeah. You just have
yeah,
to watch for return rates too,
right, right.
with that, especially on the higher items.
Okay, so we still have some more questions, but I would like first off, everybody say in the comments, thank you for Robyn. This has been awesome. Thumbs up. All that is majorly appreciated. As you can tell from this over an hour now that we've had of Q4 awesomeness. Robyn knows her stuff when it comes to Q4. This year, she is doing her Q4 bootcamp training, and she has coaching as well. And so I'd like you to talk a little bit about what you're offering this year, since we're just right at the very beginning here of Q4, and it's the great time to get in there and start learning and start preparing, like you were saying.
Yeah, because like if you can figure out how you can grow your business systematically in this next 3 months, you can have like 9 months of growth in 3 months. And you really can, you might not have your December sales in January, but you can have consistent growth all the way through Q1, Q2 through Q3. So you actually can use this as a launching pad to really change your business. And that's what we've seen over time and over again. So we have our Q4 boot camp, and we're going to be because a lot of people are looking at wholesale, we've included our wholesale and our VA course in it. And so once you get to December and it's time to start thinking about January, even if you're not looking at wholesale now, you could start looking at wholesale then. You have access to the course. So in our Q4 bootcamp, we're going to have weekly videos. We actually have already, even though we promised October 1st, we like to over-deliver. So we actually already have modules up. And so we have worksheets. I'm going to give you guys a sample of those worksheets and to really kind of create your game so you can really have a systematic thing. And we really want to support you. You have access to our Unstoppable Amazon Academy Facebook group. So you can ask me and Rochelle and my husband, Nate. You can ask us all sorts of questions. And, there's also a really great community around that. So we're going to be talking about things like how do you calendar for Q4? Should you take that loan? How do you find replens? All those things that are really, really important. And, we're also going to give you, a chance to kind of really look at your business and try to give you the things that you need in order to make sure your business stays healthy long term. So it's going to be a really great thing. There's going to be weekly videos that are dropped. And we're also going to have this really cool game where if you meet, you're going to set your own buying goals and your own shipping goals. And then we're going to get a chance to play together. And you're going to have a chance to win all sorts of prizes that because we want to really support you in taking the right actions for your business to be successful because it's that consistent action over time that really yields that results. So, that Q4 bootcamp, do you have a link that you wanted to give them for that Q4 bootcamp?
Yes, so the Q4 bootcamp, the link to that to learn more about it is dollarmoves.com/RJ Q4 2016. That's for Robyn Johnson, Q4 2016. See what I did there?
Yeah.
So it's dollarmoves.com/RJ Q4 2016. And I went ahead and put it down into the comments, and oh my goodness, it actually turned into a clickable link. Look at that. Boom. So yeah, I tell you. So wait, that means I can probably share those things you were talking about up here.
Oh yes, you can share those.
Oh wait, but you have just a link to go to it, don't you?
Yeah. So
okay.
So if you go to bestfromthenest / let me see what I saved it at. For bestfromthenest / Rob ROB Q4. I did a Q4 planning call. Now I talked about a little bit more like higher end advanced stuff. Like some of you might be like, whoa, that lady's a little intense for me, but we have it available for all levels. And then I gave you our worksheets that are, part of the modules that we have for this week. What we really want to help you do is help you really structure how you manage and create predictable results in your business. Because once you get that you can really kind of put in X and get out Y, the whole scope of what's possible in your business and it really changes dramatically. So it's how you have unpredictable results. And so that pretty much sums up the Q4 program. Did I miss anything big?
The one thing that I would say is that you do also offer the one-on-one. I know that you're going for the Q4 bootcamp training, but in there you also offer your coaching program as well. So
yeah. And we have I'm really proud of what we put together in our Momentum Institute because I feel like it's really the best value that's out there. Our Momentum coaching program has been going on for just about a year now, a little less, about 9 months. And we've had people have really extraordinary results. Adrian Friday has been on the show. Sally has been on the show kind of sharing some of the things that they got out of Momentum. But Momentum is you get a 20-minute call with Rochelle so you can kind of check in. So you do get some one-on-one time, but you get for Q4, it's a weekly group coaching call that you have access to and that you can volunteer and say, would like to be worked with, and we're going to have lightning coaching sessions where you can have one-on-one time. And then for those of you who are a little shyer, you can listen in. It would be like being able to eavesdrop on other people's coaching sessions.
Oh,
And
that's
sometimes,
cool.
yeah, because sometimes you might never thought of like, wow, I never even thought about I know this particular thing, and it might never have come up in us coaching coaching you. But
Right.
but when I'm coaching somebody else, I'm like, you need to really think about that because I know you're also worried about this. So we and like we keep confidentiality. We always tell people that if you can make up numbers in Q4 and then in momentum, and then later you can go back and fix the numbers because you would just adjust the math.
Right.
But you'll
Cool.
have access to previous recordings of those calls as well, which are incredibly valuable. So
Wait, so of your own coaching calls, you'll be able to get that information and listen again?
yeah, they can listen to previous momentum calls that
Oh,
we've had.
cool.
So they have access to basically 9 months of group coaching calls that they can listen in on. We talk about things like how to create your action plan, how to overcome this barrier, how to overcome that barrier. What do I do when this happens? Or how people will ask us questions and there's content. So those are really the Wednesday night calls are really going to be focused on delivering probably about 15-20 minutes of content, and then you're going to get that content really before everybody else does in the Q4 bootcamp, which gives you an advantage for the Q4 bootcamp game. And
Yeah.
then afterwards, we're going to answer questions that you have. So sometimes people just type in questions, and sometimes we might unmute you, and you might say, all right, so I talked to this retail guy, and he said I could buy this whole thing out. Do you think I should do it? And so we could talk out an imaginary sequence, and how would you approach that person? Or I got yelled at when I went to the store because they didn't want me to scan. But I think there's good stuff there. How can I figure out what to do and how to find those products in that store? And we can actually talk through that just like we would on a one-on-one coaching call.
Wow,
So
that's huge.
yeah. So I mean, and sometimes they're led by me, sometimes they're led by Rochelle, sometimes my husband leads them. But my husband's got the personality of cardboard on screen for some reason. He's not super charismatic on screen, so we try to make sure at least Rochelle's there. But he's really great at like the reports and things like that.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I've gone through some of his stuff with the spreadsheets and all that. Learned a ton. Dude knows his stuff on that
oh,
for sure.
yeah, and so we've got all of that, and so you're gonna get to do that, and then we have a special Facebook group for the momentum, and so it's a much tighter knit community. A lot of them have been with us for a long time, and that coaching program is really really affordable. I have to even look at how affordable we made it again.
Yeah,
Um,
but you guys can find all of that information out. There's links to both things, the Q4 bootcamp training and then also the coaching separately. It's at dollarmoves.com/RJ Q4 2016. And that'll be in the comments, and actually I'll put it below this video as well. So you can find all that information out there as well.
And yeah, so you Q4 Momentum Institute from now until the end of the year, you get it for $5.99. And that includes a monthly call, so 3 20-minute calls with Rochelle to kind of check in and be able to go through exactly what's going on in your business, to be able to ask those questions that you just don't feel comfortable asking in front of a group, and you'll get access to the recordings, access to being on those weekly calls and the lightning coaching sessions. We feel it's the best value that's out there right now as far as coaching, because it really makes it affordable for people who are just getting going. Maybe this is your first or second Q4, because one of the things that always is concerned us about one-on-one coaching is we don't want to take away so much capital from your business that you're not really able to, make the purchases that you need to make going forward. You want to be able to have enough capital to really continue to make the buys that you need to make in your business. So that's what really has been awesome about that. Oh,
There I am.
there you go.
Sorry. I bet I missed the best part too, huh?
I was just talking about, that it's really a great value because, it allows, because we don't want you to take away all your capital from your business, so, it's less than $600 to really get really access to coaching from
Right.
us. It's really affordable for even somebody who's in their first Q4. Now, with all of our programs, they're really designed for people who are serious sellers. So, if you're not, there's nothing wrong with being a hobby seller or being, kind of like just kind of seeing how it goes. But I want you to get value, and the people who get the most value are people who are willing to take action, that are coachable, that are willing to kind of try a new idea on, and people who are really ready to say, like, I'm really ready to do the work. So, being really clear on what you want and why you want, whether it's to pay off your home, maybe it's, this year you want to finally get out of credit card debt, maybe, just for the one, maybe you're looking to finally make that move to quit, and we can have those conversations too about, is this the right time to leave your job or not?
Yeah, that's perfect. And the you get that, is the 20-minute call every month with
Yep.
Rochelle?
Yeah.
So you really are, even though it's group coaching, you really are getting one-on-one coaching. You actually, I mean, I sat down at dinner with you guys and you're talking about how you kind of look over their business and are able to go back and forth. So that's really the best of both worlds there. So that's very cool. Robyn, thank you so much for coming on. I don't know, we've got an hour and 20 minutes, so that's really above and beyond. And
Oh, did you want to give them the link for the Momentum Institute? Do you have that?
oh, I put it under the
Oh, the
I
art
thought it was on that actual. I don't have that link on me. I think you have a link in the Q4 boot camp.
I think I
But
do.
yes.
Yes.
So, and that's why I wanted to mention that, because it is there. So, um,
Oh, and can I just add one more thing?
nope, that's it. You did an hour and 20 minutes of your time. That's all you're allowed to do. No, I'm just kidding. I can go for much longer. Like I said, I'm cool to hang out. I just don't want to take too much of your time. I totally appreciate, and everyone else does, all the great information that you've given and everything. So thank you so much. Please do whatever you need to say.
So I was just going to say, like, if you know somebody who has been selling, that's if you're a retired active military disabled, or they're the spouse of active retired
Oh yeah.
military, or if somebody who's a certified teacher, clergy, EMT, police, or fire, we're making our Q4 boot camp completely free for those people, because we want to say thank you for serving, our nation. And I know right now the country is kind of polarized and there's a lot going on, but at Best from the Nest, we really appreciate your sacrifice, your service. And I know that there's other areas that are service areas. We had to draw the line somewhere, so because people are like, "What about this?" And so we added teachers this year, teachers, and but we have to. There has to be a line somewhere.
Right.
But we wanted to really, try to do something to give a small way of saying thank you, for all of those everyday heroes that are out there serving our communities.
And that is so huge. And, I know that you've been doing that for quite a while, and that's such a big thing. And, when I first told people about your Q4 boot camp, someone got back a hold of me because they saw that and they're like, wow, I'm a pastor, and how do I do this? I was like, yeah, Robyn's the best. Like yeah, Robyn's the best, huh? So this is how you do it. And so, I'm sure that they followed up with it. So that is huge that you do that. And thank you so much for all that you do. Again, you guys, as you can see, all the great information. This is just a small part of what she shares in the boot camp. You can go to dollarmoves.com/RJQ4 2016. And again, that will be down below and in the comments. So dollarmoves.com/RJQ4 2016. Get this Q4 going fast and hard this year. You've still got some time. Like we said, even the first part of October can be that little bit of a slow time where you can start getting this learning, start getting your path figured out, and just be ready to rock and roll when Q4 hits. So thank you so much, Robyn, for being on the show again. It's always a pleasure having you. Do you have any parting words or anything else that you'd like to say before we get off here?
So there's going to be a moment where in getting ready for Q4, you're going to have one of two thoughts. And one is you're going to keep putting all this inventory in and you're hoping that, all the things that people are saying are true. And you're going to have a panic attack because you feel like you're pouring money into this black hole. And
True.
things do sell like crazy and it's hard to imagine. So no, I still have that this time of year every year. The other thought is kind of on the flip side is, and it happened, usually you'll have both of these thoughts. In the beginning, you'll be like, I'm way overbuying. What am I doing? I'm questioning all of my life choices.
Right.
And then on the second part of Q4, you're going to be like, why didn't I buy more? I'm such an idiot. And why did I not prepare more? And you're going to be kicking yourself. And when you get to that point, I just want you to take a breath and remember that Christmas is coming again next year.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I can attest to that. It's absolutely the truth. And just be ready, in the end, remember that it does start to slow down once Christmas gets there too, that you don't just keep going hardcore right at the end too, So thank you again so much for coming on. It's always just so fun hanging out with you. And thank you for, sharing so much of your knowledge with my viewers. I mean, if they're taking notes, they've got pages of notes from what you're talking about, because this is just, that was above and beyond. So thank you again for coming on the show. Thank you guys for being here and watching the show. And again, you can go over to dollarmoves.com/RJ Q4 2016. Get signed up for Robyn's Q4 bootcamp and get to rock and roll in this Q4. But thank you guys again for coming and watching. The thumbs up are always appreciated. I'll be having more live shows. This I can't edit and stuff. So as it's going along, sometimes things are going to freeze and do stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And it's all good because it's live, baby. So, hey, thank you guys again for being here. And we sure appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Take care, guys.
Love you, Dollar Moves.
Yeah.